Cub Scouts crossing over around this time of year, the first camp out in the Scouts BSA is just around the corner. Today, we're going to be talking about what to pack and how to pack it. One of the most important items for a camp out is your backpack. You need a backpack to carry all of the gear for your camp out. There are two types of backpacks. There's an internal frame backpack and external frame backpack. This backpack is an internal frame as all of the structure for the backpack is on the inside. I do not have an external frame backpack to show you, so I'll put a picture of one on the screen now. As you can see, the frame is visible and the backpack attaches to the frame. Here, I have a 45-liter backpack. This backpack can carry everything I need for a weekend camp out. And as you can see, 45 liters does not fit all of my gear on the inside. So you can make use of the straps and loops around the outside of the backpack to attach a camping chair or a sleeping pad. The next thing on the list is a day pack or a day bag. You're going to want to bring this so you can put any personal items you might need in it while you're away from camp. For all scouting campouts, bring your scout handbook. If you get a requirement done at the campout, you can get it signed at the campout rather than trying to remember when you get back to a meeting. It also has lots of useful information in here that can help you on the campout. You should make sure to put it inside of a waterproof bag, like a plastic zipping bag, to make sure the book does not get wet, as it has very important information for your journey to Eagle Scout. Another important item you need for a camp out is a sleeping bag. Each bag has their own temperature rating. This bag is rated for 15 degrees. That means you'll be able to survive when it's 15 degrees outside, but you'll be a little cold. To find the best comfort rate, you want to look at the weather for the camp out that weekend. Whatever the temperature is going to get down to at night, you want to subtract about 15 to 20 degrees from that temperature to get the best rated sleeping bag. So if it was going to be 30 degrees at night for a camp out, 15 degree bag would be approximately the best bag to use. But if it was going to get down below 30 degrees at the camp out and you only have a 15 degree rated bag, there are a couple solutions that you could use. The first is add more layers. You could add more socks to your feet to keep them warm. You could add more t-shirts or sweatshirts to your torso to keep your core warm, or you could use a balaclava or hat to keep your head warm. You could also use a blanket to put inside the sleeping bag to keep yourself warm, or you could use a sleeping bag liner to add extra degrees to your bag. The next important item is a ground pad. You're going to want to put your sleeping bag on top of this ground pad so that it gives you extra comfort while you're sleeping. It also gives you extra insulation so you're not laying directly on the cold ground. The next item is a pillow. Pillows are optional for a camp out, but they do add extra comfort, and personally for me, they make it easier for me to sleep. If you don't have a pillow like this, you could also use extra clothes that you're not currently wearing, like balling up a sweatshirt and laying it underneath your head. The next essential item is rain gear. You're going to want to be prepared with rain gear even if the forecast predicts no rain. Even the weather forecast can be wrong at some times. The next very important item for a camp out is clothing. You're going to want to make sure that you have at least one set of clothes for each day that you're going to be camping, and an extra set in case something gets dirty or wet. You should also have your Class A for any flag ceremonies that your troop may do. Also, if your troop travels in Class A, you want to make sure you wear it to and from the camp out. The next important item is socks. You need to make sure you have at least a couple pairs of extra socks for the camp out. If your socks get wet, then your feet are going to be cold, wet, and miserable for the rest of the camp out if you don't pack extra socks. You also want to make sure that your socks are wool and not cotton, as cotton soaks up all the water if your feet get wet, and that will lead to you being cold and miserable. On the other hand, wool socks are able to keep your feet dry and wick out most of the water. The next item is sleep clothes. Here I have a pair of sweatpants, I have a sweatshirt, and a balaclava to keep me warm at night. You also want to make sure that before you go to bed, you put on a new pair of dry socks before you go to sleep. After that, we have layers. You want to make sure you have lots of layers on every campout. Layers are your friend. Even if it's going to be a warm campout, you should still pack layers in case it does get cold. Be prepared to bring layers, because if it does get cold and you don't have layers, then you're going to be very cold and you won't have anything to put on. If you have extra layers, you can always take them off, but you can't put them on if you don't have them. Depending on the weather of the campout, you may want to bring gloves, a stocking cap, and hand warmers. The next thing you'll want to bring is hiking shoes. These shoes should be good for hiking, good for walking around camp, and mostly waterproof or water resistant. This will help keep your feet dry along with the wool socks. The type of shoe that you will bring can vary depending on the weather and the terrain. You also want a backup pair of shoes to wear after the campout in the cars, so you don't drag any mud or dirt into the cars. I put my shoes in a bag to keep them easily accessible and to try and keep them out of rain. The next essential item for a campout is your water bottle. If you're going to be around many water sources on your campout, then you can bring one water bottle to the campout. However, if you're going to be hiking all day and you're not going to be around many water sources, you should probably bring 1 or 2 extra water bottles so you can stay hydrated on the trail. Make sure you bring a water bottle or canteen that suits your needs and purposes. The next item we have is a sack lunch. What my troop usually does is we cook breakfast and dinner, and everybody packs their own lunch. If your troop is like mine, then you're going to want to make sure that you bring your own lunch. If your troop does not supply mess kits, you need to make sure to bring your own. In my mess kit, I have a plate, bowl, cup, and utensils. As scouts, we are prepared. Be prepared and bring your own personal first aid kit to every campout, so you are prepared for any medical emergency that might occur. If you're wondering how to make your own personal first aid kit, there's an info card showing on your screen now. The next item you're going to want to bring is a flashlight or a headlamp. A headlamp is a very convenient way to still have light and also to do work with both hands. You're going to want to check to see what type of batteries your headlamp and flashlight take, so that you can bring extra batteries to be prepared if the batteries you're already using die out. The next 2 items are optional but helpful if needed. The first is a knife. You should only bring a knife to a campout if you have your totem chip. The second is matches. And likewise, you should only bring matches to a campout if you have your fireman chip. A compass is also optional on a campout, but helpful if you need to orienteer. Rope is the next thing on the list and is also optional, but is very helpful if you need to tie something down or if you need to attach 2 things together. Depending on the weather of the campout, you may also want to pack bug spray and sunscreen. The next items you need to bring are your personal hygiene items. These include deodorant, toothbrush, and toothpaste. Remember, a scout is clean. The next item on the list is a watch. A watch is an optional item, but a good idea if you need to know the time. A tent is dependent upon your troop. If your troop does not supply tents, you should bring your own. You need to make sure your tent is big enough for you and your gear, but not too big that it takes up too much space. Usually, a 2 to 3 person tent is big enough for you and your gear. The next item is a camping chair. This can be a little tripod like this one, or the camping chair that I'm sitting on now. These are optional items if you want to chill outside of your tent, or if you want to sit around a campfire on your camping stool. The last item on our list is a deck of cards. This is an optional item to bring if you have some downtime during the camp and want to play with your friends. Make sure it is a deck that you're okay getting ripped, dirty, or lost. This concludes our list of what to bring. Remember, some of these items were optional and you don't have to bring them. However, we did not include every optional item that you could bring on a campout. If there are other optional items that you would like to bring, please feel free to do so. Now we're going to talk about how to pack for a camp out. There are two categories that we're going to be discussing: what to put in your day bag and what to put in your backpack. First, we're going to talk about what I pack in my day bag. These are going to be things that I bring on the trail with me, and you can have different things in your pack. I'll just go through what I have. First, I always bring with me my first aid kit. Next, I bring my raincoat with me so I can be prepared. I also have my water bottle for when I get thirsty. And I always bring with me my flashlight, headlamp, and extra batteries. Next, during warmer climates, I have my bug spray and my sunscreen. And during colder climates, I have my gloves, hat, and hand warmers. I also bring my lunch sack with me if our troop is going to be eating lunch while we're out on the trail. I also will bring a multi-tool or a knife. I will also have some rope, a compass, and matches. And I will also bring a whistle to alert others if I need help. Now the cool thing about this backpack is it also has a whistle built into the chest buckle. With that done, our day bag is now packed. Along with packing your backpack for the camp out, you're also going to need to pack your clothes. So we have our clothes for the days we're going to be camping. We have extra socks, we have layers, we have our Class A, and we have sleeping clothes. So you may be wondering why my sets of clothes look like this. And this is called a Ranger roll. What a Ranger roll is rolling all of your clothes together into one easily accessible football-sized roll. Next, I'm going to show you how to Ranger roll your clothes. So you're going to want to start by taking the bottom and creating a couple inches of overlap by taking the inside of the shirt and pushing it towards the outside, so you have a nice little band of overlap in your shirt. Next, you're going to want to fold the outsides of the shirt inward to compress it a little bit. Once you do that, put the rest of your clothes, your pants, your underwear, and your socks on the inside of the roll. You're going to want to tightly roll this so that it stays intact and compact until you need to use it at the camp out. At the end, these rolls that you made at the bottom of the shirt can go over the corners of the Ranger roll. And that keeps it nicely compressed into the size of a football. After we have all of our clothes rolled up, we're going to go ahead and pack them all together. I have a dry sack here, but if you do not have a dry sack, you could also use gallon bags that zip up. You want to make sure that they are zip up bags so that they can stay waterproof inside of the bags. And a Scout is thrifty, so you can also use these bags multiple times for multiple campouts over many months. So we're going to start by putting the extra stuff that we may not need on the campout in first. So our extra socks, our extra set of clothes, and anything we may need. Then I'll put in my gear for Sunday, because I won't need it until Sunday. Then I might put in my Saturday gear. And then I can put in my layers for later on. Next, I'm going to put in my sleep clothes because I will need those the first night I am out camping. And lastly, you can either wear your Class A to the camp out if your troop does that, or you can place it on top to prevent it from getting any wrinkles. So what I'm doing here is I'm squeezing the air out to compress the bag further. Then I'm going to roll these corners to keep the bag tight. Now you have a waterproof seal and your clothes will stay dry for the camp out. Now I'm going to go through the items that I'm going to put in my backpack. First, I'm going to put my sleeping bag at the bottom of the pack. This is because it is the biggest and heaviest item, so I want the center of gravity to be low on my backpack. Next, I'm going to put my clothes on top of that because they take up a lot of space as well. And after I put my sleeping bag and my clothes in here, most of the space in my backpack is already full, so I'm going to close this up. If your backpack is a little bit bigger than mine and you can fit a little bit more into this, then be my guest, put more into there. Or if you run out of room, you can always use the straps on the outside of the backpack as well. Next, I'm going to place my tent right on top here and use the strap here to attach it to the backpack so it doesn't fall off. Clip that on. And I'm going to secure it even further with the top of my backpack. And using these straps, I'm also going to attach my camping stool on this side with the strap. And on the other side, I'm going to attach my extra pair of shoes. Up top here, I'm going to place my mess kit and my Scout handbook. In my side pocket, I'm going to put my personal hygiene items in. And I will make use of the opposite pocket for my pillow and my deck of cards. Last but not least, I am going to put my sleeping pad right on top here and use the bottom straps to attach the sleeping pad. And with that, our bag is packed, and some of the items in here you could also put inside of your day bag. It's all up to your preferences and what you think you are going to need on the trail or not. Before I conclude this episode, please check out our link section in the About page. There's a link titled Suggest Videos. This link will take you to a Google form. Please fill this out to suggest videos that you would like to see us make in the future. If you would like, please fill out your name and where you're from so that we can give you a shout out when we upload that video. That link will also be down in the description below. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. If so, please consider subscribing to keep updated on content to help you through your scouting journey. Now I'm going to go through the items I'm going to put in the backpack.